Sup boys? So today I want to answer a question that I've gotten pretty much ever since I started making YouTube videos even, and honestly before then. And that question is, why do I do completionism content in WoW, like collecting mounts, transmog titles, achievements, pets, etc. And also what really got me into doing it. So the reason that I think I want to answer this question is a lot of people have wondered this, especially now that I'm streaming again and I'm put more of a spotlight on that type of gameplay. And I want to explain exactly what it is about that I really get out of it and how I got started doing it. Now, the first thing I want to do is answer the meme, or at least not answer it, just do the meme answer right from the beginning, which is stream content, right? Obviously, it's nice to have stream content, and if you're collecting every single thing in World of Warcraft, you're probably not ever going to run out of something to do. So that is obviously one thing, it does help, but the truth is that the highest point that I've ever been at for mounts, and also, I don't know about for mounts, but for achievements especially, was actually before I streamed or made YouTube videos at all. It was in 2011 or 2012 during Dragon Soul. So it's actually been quite a while that I've invested my time into doing this, and honestly, streaming does have its perks, of course, but there are also a lot of distractions, which I didn't have back then. So when did I really start doing it? I think it really kind of started in Burning Crusade whenever I started collecting all of the mounts, and this is something that I got really excited about. I wanted to get every single mount in the game and get the legendaries as well, because I heard of Kungan, who had gotten both Thunder Fury and Sulfuras. And there's this really stupid story that I tell in my stream, but it's actually true. One day, this was in I think I was in 11th grade or something like that, and I had a dream. And in a dream, I was looking up at my WoW character, and I was dual wielding Sulfuras and Thunder Fury. This is before Titan's Grip was even an idea in people's minds. So this was not even really possible to do in the game. So the next day I went to school and I thought about that dream. I might have looked up a few WoW things at lunchtime in the computer lab or something like that, or probably more realistically during class. And I went home and I made an MC pug and I did MC and nothing dropped. So pretty much my motivation went out the door, and I went back and I did that later on in Burning Crusade, whenever I had better gear and I was in a better guild, and I eventually got the first binding, and that was, I think, probably the first point where I thought about completionism content as something that I wanted to do with my time, and I really kind of enjoyed it, because there's no functional reason to have Thunder Fury or Sulfuras. This was in Burning Crusade. So why would I want these items? It's just really to have them. And then I went at the end of Burning Crusade to try to get a 102.4, I think, percent avoidance set in order to farm the ZG Tiger Boss, and then also maybe try to farm Gar as well. In Molten Core, and so that was to get the Tiger Mount, and then also to get, of course, the binding from Thunder Fury. So eventually I did that, and I did that all the way up into Wrath of the Lich King. Now, Wrath of the Lich King, whenever the TCG mounts came out, this was, again, I was in high school, so I didn't really have the money to afford a Spectral Tiger, or much less a Swift Spectral Tiger. So I was kind of a little bit hampered in my enjoyment of farming mounts at that point, because I felt like everything that I could get in-game wasn't everything in the game, and I stopped really farming them that seriously. And at the time that I stopped, I was pretty much the top person on my server, which wasn't really a big deal, but I was. And later on, and I pretty much stopped for all of Wrath of the Lich King, except for farming the ZG mounts, which, in retrospect, I'm very glad that I didn't stop, or I never stopped doing, because I got both of them before they were removed from the game. And I would go with my friend Kryptonites. We had a little thing where every 3 days we'd go after raid and we'd go farm the ZG mounts together, and then I'd also go with my mom and I'd farm the Yanzu mount with her, because she was a druid and she could summon it. So eventually at the end of Burning Crusade, or sorry, Wrath of the Lich King, I got both of the ZG mounts, and at that point still, I never really cared a whole lot about achievements. I had maybe a couple thousand achievement points. It wasn't really a big deal, and that was the case all the way up until I transferred over to Kel'Thuzad. And whenever I transferred over to Kel'Thuzad, because I started on Thrall server, I went to kill Jaden to do PvP. That was fun, but I missed my friends. Went over to Kel'Thuzad, remember my guild reformed there. So whenever I went back to Kel'Thuzad, I saw some of these people that were farming for achievements, and they had way more achievement points than I did. And I saw these guys, and I was like, man, these people fucking suck. How is it that these people have more points than me, but I'm better than them? It doesn't make any sense. and I felt like almost, you know, I don't know, emasculated. I felt emasculated about it. So then I just started farming achievement points all the time. I would log on and I would tell myself, okay, today I'm going to get, 20 points. I'm going to get 30 points. I'm going to do the old Aura achievements. I'm going to do whatever I can. And in Wrath of the Lich King, farming achievement points was actually much more of an enjoyable endeavor. And I think it was in Cataclysm too, because you had much less achievements that were collect 5,000 of this useless item and then make sure that, this many of them are pristine. I think you guys know what I'm talking about here. So I just kind of really got into it, and it was just super fun for me. Cataclysm comes out, and I start doing pretty much the same thing. And that's whenever I started taking achievement farming and like mount farming and everything a lot more seriously, because at this point I had graduated high school and I was in NEET, life goals. And anyway, so I was farming achievements, farming mounts, doing not transmog runs, well I guess I was at the end of it, but mostly just like doing runs. Even I was getting my old tier sets. I got like my tier 2 and tier 1 set, tier 4 set, and I had all of the different items that would go along with it. And this is just something that I did kind of to pass the time, because after I would do my raid, I'd still want to play the game, and PvP was fun, but I never really got overly invested into it in the same way that other people did. I kind of just always got kind of bored, and maybe it's because I sucked at it. Regardless, I really enjoyed RBGs though. I almost got Hero of the Alliance a few times. I think I got like 2,500 or so in RBGs in Cataclysm a few seasons, and I was Season 9 Grand Marshal, so I got that pretty much as soon as I possibly could. And anyway, so I went through and I started farming these achievements, and I got a sense of pride of kind of knowing that I remember the day that I logged on and I was #1 on the server. And back then, like, server communities were much more tight-knit, and so being able to do that, like, I had a number of people that messaged me that day, like, yo, congrats, man, you fucking got it, like, they were happy for me, etc. And so that was a really, really cool thing to have happen. And then after I was on top of my server, I thought, well, where am I in the grand state of like the world? How many people do, still have more than me? And so I looked at that and I kind of set my sights higher, and I started farming for 100,000 honorable kills. I started farming for, 2,400, 2,700 in arena. I started farming for 300 wins in rated battlegrounds. And I did this constantly, and I would always do it all the time. And it was an extremely fun activity for me, because I felt like the reason why I enjoy it so much, I think, is that I look at it as a way to play WoW in so many different ways. And I think that's really the main thing that I enjoy about it, is the fact that whenever I log on WoW, it's not like I log on the game WoW. It's like I log on to a fantasy universe, which is World of Warcraft, and I choose which game I want to play. Do I want to play pet battles? Do I want to play mount farming? Do I want to play PvP? Do I want to play soloing raids, or doing mythic raiding, or doing RBGs, or raids themselves, right? Mythic raids or mythic dungeons, something like that. So there's always something for me to do to where I don't end up burning myself out on the same activity, which is something that I feel like I do a lot in other games. So for example, playing Path of Exile, as time goes on, I kind of get used to just doing the same thing over and over, because the gameplay is relatively similar no matter what you're doing. And Path of Exile is probably the most diverse example I can give. And I love Path of Exile. I play it almost every single league because it's so fun for me. But even then, all of the gameplay and activities kind of all funnel into one type of activity. It's basically playing the game the same way. And obviously you have bosses, etc., that do break up that monotony, which is why I stay invested for as long as I do. But every other game is even worse than that. For PUBG, for example, every match you have the same goal. There's not really a lot of different game modes, and the ones that are don't really offer enough gameplay to really keep me engaged in a way that, the original mode would have already kind of alienated me from that point to begin with. So what ends up happening with these other games is I'll play them for a while, and then I'll get bored of what they have to offer, and I'll just go back and play WoW again. And I think the reason why I never really get bored playing WoW is the fact that oftentimes I'm not just playing WoW, I'm playing an element of the game in WoW. And because I play so many different elements of the game, I'm kind of rotating myself around. And so I get bored of pet battles and I go do battlegrounds, and I get bored of battlegrounds and I go do raiding, and I get bored of raiding, I go do farming mounts. And then by the time I get done farming mounts, I'm bored of that. It's like, you know what, maybe I'll do a few more pet battles. So it kind of allows me to rotate around and keep my interest in the game because I'm always doing different things inside of it. So I think that's probably the biggest reason why I stay engaged and I stay invested in so long. And I will honestly admit there is probably a certain degree of sunk cost fallacy here, where it's like, man, like I'm trying to get Gladiator every season now. By trying to get, I mean trying to get carried to Gladiator every season now, because it's like, man, I have every proto drake in the game. I've had this streak ever since 2009. I don't want to break my streak. So it's like at a certain point, there's like a, I don't know, almost like a obligation that I feel to continue doing it. But it's more than that, that sometimes I'll take breaks. Like right now, I'm like getting back into it. But before then, I was just kind of on, I don't know, in hibernation, I guess you could say. Because I just wasn't really as interested in doing it at that point. I just got kind of bored entirely. And also I had wanted to do it and share it as something on my stream, wasn't streaming, so, you know, it's a whole thing. Regardless though, I feel like playing the different elements of the game revitalizes my interest in other elements of the game, and because of that, I never truly get bored of the game entirely, because there's always something else that I can do that will still somehow hold my attention. And now with Classic as well, I can go and do that too. So there's almost always something that I want to do in WoW, even if it's not the, you know, even if it's a little bit off the beaten path, I guess you could say, right? Like doing pet battles or farming mounts isn't exactly core game content in the same way that raiding or Mythic Plus is. But it's still something that I really enjoy, and I think also another element of this is that I felt a motivation to do this a lot more, especially now that there isn't as many like tangible rewards, and rewards are so fleeting in the game. So for example, like if I get really good raid gear one tier, well then next tier it's gonna suck. But mounts are forever. If I get Invincible, Invincible is obviously not as cool as it was when I got it in 2011 or whatever, but it's still pretty fucking cool. And it doesn't matter when you get a mount, because it's just basically, it is, you check that off, and it's not like next patch you have to farm it again, next patch you don't have to do anything else, you do that content and you finish that content, and being able to have that sense of satisfaction of completion is something that I really enjoy about games, because they allow you to set goals and then achieve your goals. So I think that's probably one of the other big reasons, is that, you know, with the fleeting nature of the progression systems in the game now, you've got mounts and pets and titles and transmogs. It's like you get Tusk of Manaroth, you've got Tusk of Manaroth. It doesn't matter if you got them in WoD or Legion, you've got them. And I feel like that's probably the biggest motivator for me, is knowing that all of these achievements that I'll have will always matter inside of the context, of course, of the game. Now, this is still just a video game, but I do get a really good chance to enjoy that in the same way. I'm a little bit nervous here. There's a lot of winds, and there's a lot of creaking on my roof here because there's a tree on top of it, so I'm a little bit, I don't know, unsettled. So anyway, I think those are probably some of the big reasons why I really find enjoyment in doing completionism content. So pretty much, you know, a certain degree of sunk cost fallacy. I've done it so long, I don't want to stop. On top of that, I saw other people that do it, and I thought I can do it better than they can, and I did. And on top of that, I feel like there's much more of a permanence of a lot of the completionism content in an ironic way, more so than the current game content. So, you know, mounts are forever. Gear comes and goes, but mounts are forever. And also on top of that, the different types of game modes, being able to switch between them, prevents me from burning out from the game. I've got over 1,400 days slash played, which I think somebody did the math on that, and it's about 35,000 hours played in the game. I don't regret a single hour. I've enjoyed it the whole time. I love the game, and I think one of the big reasons for that is because I always do different things that cause me to gain interest in other elements of the game, and at the point where other people would play different games, I usually just play a different mode in the game. So hopefully that answers a lot of people's questions, and I'd be curious to know why you guys do it. And if you're a completionism guy, if you enjoy that, whatever, go ahead and let me know why. And if you haven't done it yet, fuck, dude, come play the real game. Come play the real game, like not this, you know, fleeting every patch. Oh man, I get the good gear and then it's bad again. Oh man, start farming mounts, dude, and those will last forever. At least that's the way I feel about it. And I've enjoyed it a lot, and I think it's really fun. So anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll be really curious to hear other people's perspectives as well. But until next time, peace.